Miffy is over here offering me encouragement, which is good because today I need it. Hi Flosstube friends. My name is Audrey Marine. Today is June 14th, 2025. This is a channel about cross stitch. Bonjour tout le monde et bienvenue sur ma chaîne. I have just a couple whips to show you today, but I have a few finishes. I have quite a bit of fabric haul. And then I've got a couple stitchy stories to share along the way. So let's get into it. It's been about a month since my last video. And on that last video, the last regular Flosstube video that I put out, I had a lot of things to show, a lot of different whips that I was kind of jumping around from to whatever you want to say. But this, what I have to show today, will not be quite like that. Oh, I'm kind of out of sorts, I think. I don't really know why. It's just been kind of a weird couple days. But I thought it's been a while, so I need to get on with this. My little French intro there was for the few people who want to hear me speak French, and also because my darling husband is in France right now, and maybe he'll watch this. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. But he's in France right now covering the... Let's get that together. He's covering the 24 hours of Le Mans. So he's there this weekend, and then he jets off to Jakarta, and then he goes back to Europe for another gig, and I'll kind of talk about that later when I get into plans. But let me show you the stitchy stuff, because that's why you're here. You don't need to know where Ryan is, like where in the world is Ryan Marine. You guys don't care, it's okay. I care because I need him to stay alive. I need him to stay alive and come home to me. Okay, let's start with this pile I've got going on here. Okay, after last month's video, the following week, or the week following that video, I started a new project. I started a chart out of this booklet. This actually is a booklet containing 2 samplers. This is from the All Things Bright and Beautiful box from Hands Across the Sea Samplers that was released in January of this year. This is by Jessie Anderson. This is by her daughter Jessie Gay, and I stitched the red one by Jessie Anderson. And what ended up happening was I started this the day that a bunch of guests came into town ahead of the Indy 500. And I ended up stitching on this monogamously until it was done. It took me about 2 weeks just because we had so much stuff going on, and there is quite a bit of stitching in this. But it was a lot of fun, and I didn't feel the need to jump to another project, so I just kept up with this one. And I actually used this piece in a video that I did. You can find it on my channel as well. It's an eyelet stitching video. I wouldn't necessarily call it a tutorial. It's more like a stitch with me. I show you how I stitch eyelets if you're interested in seeing how I accomplish them. This is on 56 Count Down the Rabbit Hole by Tabby Cat Linen. This linen is available exclusively at Hobby House Needleworks. You can buy it on their website. And I used 664, 103, from Overiswa 664, but I used 2 664 for the tiny little bit of over 1 down here. Now this is a darker linen, but I actually think the 664 pops really nicely. And then I also used 2 664, which is a Swatsurfine, if I didn't say that before, for my little signature there, which is an A and a 25. I obviously changed the number depending on the year in which a piece is stitched. But other than this signature, I stitched it exactly as charted. And as far as I know, I don't have any mistakes in this one. Very happy with how she turned out. I had an interesting idea to finish this one, fully finish it in an unconventional way. And I actually messaged Faye Rigsby about it. I was like, honest opinion. And she's like, honest opinion, I would frame it. And I was like, okay, I was kind of on the fence anyway, so we'll go ahead and frame it. So that's what we'll do with Jessie Anderson here. But I really enjoyed stitching that one. And I think I could have done it in less time had we not had so much going on throughout the month of May, but I think 2 weeks to finish that is just fine. Okay, moving on to another chart here, another finish here. This is Dinah Disney. Now I don't have the chart to show you because I actually already mailed it to a friend. So it is out the door, out of my house, but this is pretty much what Dinah looks like. I don't recall what Dinah's called for fabric is. This is 56 count creme brulee. That is not the called for fabric. I think it's, you know what? I think it's just the ticket. I'd put money on that, which is kind of a soft yellow. Actually, I have a piece of just the ticket right here in this pile in front of me, and I will dig it out at some point in this video and you'll get to see it. I love creme brulee, which is this fabric by Tabby Cat Linen. It's heavily mottled. It's very dark in some spots, but I love how red looks on it. Ooh. And to stitch this one on 56 count, I actually used the 2664, the Flosstube Friends. This is an ultra fine silk. You can purchase this at Hobby House and I believe Needle in a Haystack and also the Attic. I wish you could just order it from Hoop and Frame because they're the, you know, they have access commodities, everything except Flosstube Friends. I don't understand it. The reason why I use Flosstube Friends for this one instead of just using 103, which I usually like to on 56 count, is because it had so much four-sided stitch. All of this stuff here is four-sided stitch, and the capital letters in Dinah's name, and the capital letters down here, as well as the 1876, and this border here, this band of waves, that is all four-sided stitch. And in order to maintain the definition of the squares that you get from stitching four-sided stitch, I felt that it was necessary to use Flosstube Friends. This, from what I can tell, is true to color here in the video. That looks good. And this was another one I was thinking about having made into a pillow, but I love it so much. And it is just slightly large, I think, for a pillow. I think it would still be fine for a pillow, but it is on the larger size. I think this is about 5.5 by 5, something like that. So I'm gonna have this framed. I still have to put my signature in it somewhere. I haven't been able to decide where, but I suspect I'm gonna stick it right here next to this 15, because that looks like a nice little gap that would hold an A and a 25, just like that. So I think that's what I'll go ahead and do. Also, right here on this quilt rack that I have, you may see my finish of Eliza Duff Curtain, as it says on the sampler. This one, now you can buy the chart at Hobby House. You can buy the chart on the Hobby House Needleworks website. So just search curtain, Kirton, and you will find that. But another finish. So this was one I had started previously. I know I showed this in progress on my last video. After I finished Jessie Anderson, I was like, well, that was so great, just stitching one thing until it was done. And so that's what I decided to go ahead and do. I picked up one, I finished Jessie Anderson, and then I picked up Sarah Blackburn, and I worked on her till she was finished. And then I picked up Dinah Disney, and I worked on her till she was finished. And then now I've got something else going, which I'll get into. But let me show you Sarah Blackburn. So we're a little bit out of order, but that's okay. This is also from the All Things Bright and Beautiful box by Hats. So this is another exclusive that won't be released. And as I say, even though I'm done with it, I'm not selling it at this time. Perhaps someday in the future when I've gone through the whole box, I'll just sell everything as a lot. But I don't know. Some things, I think I'm done with it. I just want to get it out of my house. But other things, you know, it's like, ooh, I might need that later. Like irrationally hoarding things, right? We all do it. But, but this is my finish of Sarah Blackburn. I started this on April 7th with Gem of Stitch and Gem. This was her favorite out of that box. So we decided to start that together. And I think I actually finished it on June 7th, if I remember correctly. Now, like any Hands Across the Sea samplers chart, there are options for 100.3, Soie d'Alger, and DMC. Those are your color choices. But I thought this would look really great in Roxy Floss Cottons. So I did my own conversion. And since I showed you guys this last time, I have actually made one more change. It is in my finished product, and I will tell you what that is. But I love this. This is 40 count Buttercup. The fabric is from Roxy Floss as well. And then my final conversion, if you are interested. Scarecrow, Steel, Florida Pink, of Quartz, Verd's the Word, Peas in a Pod, Chick, Yearly Bonus, Smells Like Money, Strawberry Taffy, Monarch is what I changed. I had put vitamin C in here, which I still maintain is a better match to the called for, but I liked this better, so I used this. Monarch, yeah, I said vitamin C. So if you want like a truer match to what's called for, use vitamin C instead of Monarch. Molly, Dragon Fruit, and Panther. Now, as I said before, Dragon Fruit, now Monarch. Was there another one? No, those are the onlys that are one of a kind. Okay. What else was I gonna say about this? Oh, the other thing, and I think I've covered this before, but I'll just say it again. I am using Yearly Bonus for both 226 and 241. 226 and 241. I pulled those 103s and they were so similar in color that I thought, you know what, I'm not gonna try to find two colors almost exactly the same. I'm just gonna use that one. And I'm very, very happy with my conversion. I think everything turned out well. And I'm happy with my finished product. So this is definitely going to the framers in the fall. I need to put a signature somewhere on it, and I haven't done that yet. But just for transparency's sake, I'll show you my back. I think it turned out very nicely. This fabric is just gorge. So gorgeous. And now I get to take all this apart and I get to use this for other stuff, maybe another conversion, and I can put my Monarch with the one-of-a-kind club stuff, as well as my Dragon Fruit, which I'll just go ahead and show that to you now. I got my latest installment from the Roxy Floss Co. One-of-a-Kind Club, and it was so good. So good. And in fact, when it showed up, I was like, oh, I'm definitely using one of those oranges instead of vitamin C. So this is what came in addition to Monarch. I got Monarch, Lava, Double Mint, Orbit, Wintergreen, Toothbrush Time, and Gum and Gummer. Did you see those guys at the Pacers game last night who were dressed up like Dumb and Dumber in those ridiculous tuxedos? Yeah, that was funny. I was like, what are we trying to say here? And also, how much did you pay for those tickets? Holy cow. Okay, not at all relevant to stitching, but just something I'm wondering about. Okay, so these so far are all my one-of-a-kind clubs. Okay, this is super long because I pulled one strand thinking I was one really long strand, thinking I was gonna use it for something, and I did not, so I just stuck it back on there. Okay, but very happy with the club. So I'm glad I signed up for it. If you haven't done so already and you've been on the fence, I mean, if you honestly think that you're gonna use these colors, then I would go ahead and sign up for it. I think it's been a great deal. It's been a wonderful surprise every month, and I just keep coming, Carrie, come on. I love it all. I love it all. So, okay. Now I've just got one whip to show you and a new start, and then I have two little FFOs, and that'll sort of lead into the other stuff I need to talk about today. Okay, I did show my start of this last time. This is Elizabeth Dinsdale. And I already stitched the little primer and had that finished doing tiny little pillow. But the larger sampler, I am stitching on 46 count beige gray from XJU Designs. And look how far I've gotten. Border's almost done. I mean, the bones are all done. I just have to fill in the bits at the top and do the rest of these little red X's. I think last time I showed this, I had the tree and the deer in this basket, the moon and the stars, and maybe a couple words. So I got a lot done on it. As I mentioned last time, the border is really fun and fast, and I've had a great time stitching it. It was so easy. I just blazed through it. It was very regular, except for the corners. And then because the corners are irregular, you've got this little thing in the middle here. I just want to make sure I'm on camera. This little thing in the middle here is not at the top, but it is, you know, the whole thing is symmetrical from one side to the other. Like the left is exactly like the right, if that makes sense. It's just that the top is not exactly like the bottom. It's pretty overcast here today, and I actually think this is showing pretty true. Maybe it's a titch darker in real life, but so yeah, got the house done, and then got a lot of the stuff done on the bottom and some more words. And these little bees down here are stitched with Swass Your Fiend in black over 1. And there are 33 little bees. And guess what? I carried all of that. And you can too. I wasn't starting and stopping 33 tiny bees. There are 4 tiny little over 1 stitches in each bee. No, I'm not starting and stopping each one of those things. No, thank you. The fabric is dark enough. I could carry the black, and even if you could see it through, I don't care. I need my stitching to look nice, but also to be enjoyable. And I know there are plenty of people out there. Sorry, Caroline is cringing in her boots right now, but there's a balance to be found for everyone between neatness and swiftness, honestly. And we all fall somewhere along that line. Some people just care about getting it done quickly, and some people are like, I'm enjoying the process, every little bit of it, and it's gonna take as long as it needs to take, and that's fine. I just want it to be perfect. I want it to look nice. It's gonna hang on my wall. I gotta look at it. But guess what? Nobody else cares. Nobody else cares if it's like, you know, that little, no. It's all about me and what I want to do. So if I'm okay with carrying things and I'm okay with a slightly messy back, that's all right. Because as I say, stitching 33 little bees individually. Also, I got to do that again over here. There's another bee skep with more bees on the other side. And I knew that I just wanted those the stitches on the front look great, but you know, I'm carrying that stuff. Okay, and then I started something new. I have one new start, and that's it. And it is Harriet Goddard. I showed this chart last time. It was a new acquisition, and I had thought to stitch it on Down the Rabbit Hole by Tabby Cat Linen, as I did Jessie Anderson. And I still maintain this would have been an excellent choice. And now seeing it, I'm kind of thinking maybe I should have gone with this. Maybe I should have gone with this. But before I started, Harriet Goddard, Vashti sent me a big pack of linens. I think she sent me like 5 different pieces, and they were all 56 count. And there was one color in particular that I just fell in love with. It was a Shrekie's Tan by Needle Bling. And I thought, oh, I love that so much. And so I'm gonna go ahead and stitch Harriet Goddard. It looks great. You can see everything on it. But thinking back to Down the Rabbit Hole, maybe it would have given it a little bit more depth. Or maybe some of the details would have been lost because that's a darker fabric. I'm not really sure. I am happy with my choice though. We're not going back now because I have already stitched about a third of this chart. So I've gotten down to Harriet and I stitched this little flower and leaf bit there. And so I'm getting down into the fun stuff. Yeah. So as I say, this is 56 count Trekkies Tan by Needle Bling. You can see I've wrapped my hoop. I recently stopped at Keepsakes and I got some twill tape. And this is, let me just show you guys in case you're interested. This hoop that I showed, it's a Hardwick Manor hoop and it's the 9-inch oval. And I bought 4 yards of 3/8 inch or 11 millimeter wide tape. And I had enough to wrap my inner hoop with a little bit left over. I think I've got like somewhere between 1 and 2 feet left here. So it was enough. So certainly you would have plenty if you were gonna wrap a smaller hoop. Something bigger, maybe consider buying more if you're interested in twill tape. I never felt like I really needed to wrap my hoops, but I wanted to try it. Some people do wrap their hoops and they swear by it. And I thought, well, I've got a couple different ones that I use and I'd like to try it. Now, I wrapped this and I was pulling and pulling and pulling so tight, so hard on the twill tape that by the time I got it done, the whole thing wrapped, it took me a good portion of an X-Files episode, I will tell you, to wrap this thing. And by the time I was done, my fingers of my left hand and my left wrist were really funky feeling. But I got it all wrapped up and I don't know if you guys can, that's how tight the fabric is. So very tight, this ain't going anywhere. And I left this in the hoop since yesterday. I didn't care. I figure when it comes time to move it down and I end up putting my hoop over stitching I've already done, well then maybe I shouldn't leave it in overnight, but as of right now it's fine. And you know, I've never had a problem with hoop marks. One time I forgot a piece in a hoop for like 3 days or something and it was fine. I spritzed it and ironed it and it was fine. You know, once you give it to your framer and they stretch it all out, it's no big deal. Okay, so that's all really I've been stitching. And as I said, I went to Keepsakes on Wednesday, so just a few days ago. Now this weekend happening is StitchCon. Lots of people at StitchCon, including Stephanie. Hi Stephanie, I hope you're having fun. And Jem. So Jem told me that she was going in early. And so I thought, well, it's only in Cincinnati and I've been to Keepsakes before. Like it's an easy drive. So if you're going in early before all the, you know, before everybody gets there, well, why don't I just meet you and we could do some shopping and grab lunch or whatever. So that's what I did. I drove out there on Wednesday morning and we met at the shop and I was actually there before her flight into Cincinnati was delayed a little bit. So I got all my shopping done before she and Connie even showed up. And I checked out and put my stuff in my car and of course then I go and am looking around the shop with Jem and find more stuff that I want, but I didn't buy anything else. But Jem and Connie pull up and Jem gets out and she gives me a big hug and then she goes right inside, she goes to the bathroom and then she starts like pulling fabric and I was like, I want a quarter of this, I want a quarter of this and everything. She and Connie are digging through fabric for themselves and also for another friend who was unable to come to StitchCon this year. And anyway, I felt like I didn't need any more fabric, so I wasn't even bothering to look. But there was this little pile of Mason linen on one of the cutting tables that they have there. And I was like, oh, Mason linen, I didn't see that. Well, of course not, because I hadn't been looking at fabric. And so we're like rifling through it. And we both kind of pick up this one piece of fabric and we see the count. And Jem and I both yell, 56! probably the only piece of 56 in the whole store. So Jem threw it at the lady cutting fabric and was like, Audrey needs some of this. And I was like, okay, I'm not gonna argue with you. So Jem very kindly bought me 1/4 yard of 56 count Mason button box. And I suspect this is medium dark. That's what I suspect. So Mason linen, I have showed some of their linen before, and they will dye basically one color in a slew of hues. So they'll have a color in light version, medium light, medium dark, and a dark version of that same sort of color. So it's like all the same family, which is nice, honestly, because then if you see one of their colors and you're like, oh, I love that, but I want it a little bit lighter, or I want it a little bit darker, or whatever, and it's easy to find a good option. So I do love this color, and I did not have this in 56. So thank you very much, Jem. It will be put to good use. It's absolutely gorgeous. So that is some Stitchy kindness I got. Let me show you the other things that I got at Keepsakes, and then we'll go into Stitchy kindness and haul, and then that might be it. I think that's it. I'm gonna take a drink right now. Okay, as I say, I was at Keepsakes for a while by myself. There were a couple of the ladies there who said hi, and but I basically just kind of walk around and quietly look at everything. And I have been there a couple times, so I had an idea of what they had. But you know, there's always stuff you miss because there's just so much packed into what used to be a house, very clearly. So I did find a couple things besides the twill tape. I found this Shepherd's Bush kit. It is called Over the River. And it's just a cute little design. It says over the river and through the woods. It's got a little house, and it is a full kit. So it comes with fabric, floss, and the little buttons. Little buttons there. Now it comes with what appears to be, and based on the pattern, I think it's a 30 count. I won't use a 30 count. I think you know, I'm going to use a 40 count, but the stitch count is 79 by 99. So on 40 count, it'll end up being 4 by 5, which I think is a good size for a little pillow. Now what that means is that a couple of these buttons aren't going to work on the design. The sheep and the pumpkin aren't really going to work, but I think I should be able to still use the moon and the star, which are in the border, if you can see them, because I don't care if the moon and star, the moon especially, I don't care if that's oversized compared to the house and the trees and stuff. So I just thought this was so cute. And I have a lot of fun stitching these little Shepherd's Bush charts, which actually I should show you right now. The finishes I picked up at Keepsakes. I mentioned months ago, I dropped these off and I got to collect them upon my visit this week. So it's so tiny. Is it gonna focus? There we go. Oh, this is Travel Trifles Europe. I mean, this is supposed to be the Italy little piece. I talked about this more in depth on a previous video. This little chart, it reminded me of a place that Ryan and I visited in France last year. Yeah, last springtime. And so I modified it just a little bit to make it look even more like that place. Like I changed the shutter colors on the house. And then I added, if you can even make this out, this is supposed to say Renoir in the style of his signature, because the place that I was trying to make this look like is Renoir's property in Cagnes, which is where we went. And I want to go back. I told Ryan if I die in Haute Cagnes, it wouldn't be the worst thing. He's like, okay, honey. And then this was the other little piece that I got done. Again, Shepherd's Bush pieces are usually stitched on 32 count, 28 count, something like that. So when you stitch them on 40 count, oh, they're so tiny. And this actually came, this chart, I don't have the chart anymore because I sent that to Jordan too. This came with a different button, but because I stitched it on 40 instead of 32 or whatever the called for was, the button was too big. It wasn't gonna work. And Jordan, I found the button, so I put it in the chart. If you want to use it, use it. If not, it doesn't matter. But I was able to purchase other buttons. So I got a little bumblebee and a sheep. And I requested walnut shells and did not get walnut shells, but it's still very stiff. So like super stiff. And there's the backing fabric if you guys are interested. I just told them to, you know, use whatever. And I think the butter yellow chenille looks very nice. So those are the finishes I got back. Okay, and also at Keepsakes, I got this Jeanette Douglas kit. Comes with the floss and the ribbon and the buttons. And this down here is what you stitch, and then you wrap it around the spool. I got the spool, and I got the one with the hanger. There's another one that's just open like this that you would use as a scissors holder or whatever you may want to put in there. But I got the one with the hanger because I don't know, I thought I might hang it from something. I don't know. I wasn't going to use it as a scissors holder or anything like that. So I went ahead and got that. And then impulse purchase at the register, I found these adorable pins. Oh my goodness. They are from Puntini Puntini. Puntini. And they are little crows, little ravens. Oh my God, they're so funny. So I realized actually these are the first little pins I've ever purchased, because all the other pins that I have stuck in my pillows and stuff on display, they're all like gifts or stuff I got in boxes, like a whole thing where you really just want this one thing, but it comes with all this other stuff. So I love all my pins, but I realized I haven't actually purchased any of them. So these are the first pins I ever bought. First, like decorative pins, right? So I've got some Halloween smalls that I'm hoping to have finished before Halloween, and I think those would look super cute. Do you guys remember the pieces that I did from Jack-o'-lantern Jubilee by Brenda Gervais? I did, how many of those did I do? 3 or 4? I don't even remember. And so if I can put those on display this Halloween with my other Halloween goodies, then I will use those pins because those are so cute. And then another thing I found, I got this from Horace. He loves turtles. And I told him, I showed him after the fact. I said, if you want to stitch it, great. If not, it's no big deal. I just thought it was cute, and I'm, happy to buy it. It's no big deal. The stitch count on this is the Daisy Flag by Bent Creek, and the stitch count is only 31 by 50. It does take a surprisingly, large amount of colors. It takes, let's see, 9 colors. But I'd say this is so small, you could just stitch it from stash with whatever you have. I just thought that little guy was cute. Okay, so that's what I got from Keepsakes. And then some more Stitchy Kindness that I got. And actually, I realized I got more Stitchy Kindness. It's out on the dining room table. I'll have to go get that. I'll have to go get that. Okay, a few weeks ago, there was a retreat, a Plum Street Sampler retreat. And a bunch of people were sharing the exclusive kit that they got, and oh my goodness, it was so cute. So I shared somebody's photo and I said, oh my God, I love this, or something like that. And an attendee of the retreat reached out to me and she said, I don't think I'm gonna get to it. Can I send it to you? And I said, yes, please. And she even sent me the beautiful box. This is Every Gift by Plum Street Samplers. And this is the digital rendering of it. But if you go online or go on Instagram, you should be able to find photos of this. But actually, I'll show you the chart. Because the chart has the finished piece. I just love this. It's beautiful, and it's very Paulette. It's got a barn, it's got flowers, but it's also got flamingos. And is that a kingfisher right there? Charlie, you can tell me. And look, there's a little fish jumping out, but then we've got like a quilt star and some other quilt motifs on the barn itself. just thought this was so pretty. And a bunch of people have already started it from the retreat, and I love what they're coming up with. Now, the included fabric that she sent me, and I keep saying she because she asked to remain anonymous, but I want to say thank you. I am very appreciative of this. She sent me the box and the chart and the included Dolly Madison in 36 count. Well, I prefer to stitch on 40 count, but it's okay because I found a very loving home for the 36 count. And then Jem, when I saw her on Wednesday, she gave me a piece of 40 count Dolly Madison. So I get to stitch on the called for color in my preferred count. And you can see some fabulous flosses peeking out here. Okay, these are Roxy Floss. These are things that I pulled from Stash. Several of these are one of a kind from my one of a kind club packs. And I decided that this needed to be converted to Roxy Floss. Yeah. So I've got a pretty good start on my conversion. I like what I've come up with so far. I don't have great options for the barn colors. I think the roof here is Louisiana hot sauce, and that is a particular, it's like hot pink with some red orange in it. It's such an odd, excuse me, it's an odd color. It's beautiful, it's specific. So I don't have a good option for that. But today, well actually yesterday, it was released yesterday. Yesterday, Evertote released for purchase, for pre-order basically, their Sampler September project. Now I have a point to this. So they released their Sampler September project. It is Jane Wood. I will insert a photo here. It's gorgeous. I ordered it like 20 minutes after it came out, and it only took me that long because I was trying to decide if I also needed to order fabric. I did not order fabric. I wanted to order fabric, but I went through my stash and was like, Audrey, you don't need to order fabric. You've got plenty of options here. So if I decide at a later date, you know, whatever. Anyway, I had this whole mess of crap in my cart for a couple weeks, including a lot of things that I thought would be good options for the barn. Like I picked a bunch of different bluey teal colors and a bunch of different weird hot pink, orangey red colors. And so I had all this stuff in my cart and a couple other things. And I had waited so long, then, well, Jane Wood is now available for purchase. So I just bought it all together with the understanding that Jane Wood is a pre-order. It's not going to ship until the end of July. So the flosses that I ordered, you know, to figure out what my conversion is going to be for this, they'll come in that order. They'll all ship at the end of July with Jane Wood. So I will start this, it would be like in August, I would be able to start this when I get those other flosses. But go ahead onto the Evertote website, and if you just scroll down on the home page, you'll see all the options for Jane Wood. It's a gorgeous sampler. Also, if you watch the latest video that they have on their YouTube channel, which is Evertote Notes from the Workshop, you'll see it's Carrie and Hannah, because Caroline is unavailable right now. So it's Carrie and Hannah talking about Jane Wood, the sampler, and then the last bit of the video is just Hannah going over all the flosses, and she tells you the name of everything, and oh, it's spectacular. It's so much eye candy. I love it. So I want to say a big thank you to the lovely lady who sent me the chart, which is much coveted, I will say, the chart and the fabric and this beautiful box, because I'm keeping my Dolly Madison and my Roxy Floss that I've reserved for this with the fabric in this box. Thank you so much. Also, speaking of Evertote, you know, I'm talking about placing my order for things. One of the things that I added to my order was some more yarn. I say some more yarn. I never actually bought yarn from them in the first place, but my mom did, and she made these awesome socks, and they look kind of frumpy because I've been wearing them a lot. So if you guys are interested in this yarn, this is the Agnes Kerr yarn, and it's still available on the website. So Mom made me those socks, and in addition to that, She also got me this really cool kit from Missouri Star Quilt Company, and this whole bag and all the goodies in it are for EPP, English paper piecing. So you can see the whole bag in here. It's got like zippers and little pockets and things like that. Let me show you here. Okay, so it came with all these things. There's a pair of scissors, there's a needle minder and all these little pockety things, and then die cuts for English paper piecing. And there are different sizes and shapes, and came with an instruction booklet. It came with this cutting board, which actually you put it down and it rotates, which is cool. And then the idea is that you'll cut out your pieces and, you know, sew them together, and then you'll sew the little flower that you make onto this bag, this canvas bag, or you can do whatever you want with it. Another thing that she added to it though, and she said that she got these from 1 2 3 Stitch, these are EPP iron-ons, and you iron them on and then you fold and you piece your pieces, you sew your pieces together, and you don't have to remove these papers. They just wash away, dissolve away. Yeah. Pre-cut from semi-water soluble applique paper. Easy peasy. So that was pretty cool. So I will, when I get around to doing this stuff, I'm especially excited about the iron-on stuff because I wasn't thrilled about having to pop all those papers out. And maybe it won't bother me as much as I would think, but. And another thing she included was this little charm pack from Riley Blake. This is Mansfield Park by Jane Austen, or Jane Austen's House, Mansfield Park. That's the collection. And I bought a fat quarter bundle of that, but I mailed it to somebody, and hopefully on my next Flosstube I'll be able to show you why and what I got made out of it. I'm very excited. Another bunch of Stitchy kindness I got was a bunch of Plum Street sampler charts, more Plum Street sampler charts from a friend. She's, you know, going through stuff and, well, I don't need this. I'm never going to stitch it all. So what do you want, Audrey? And I was like, well, I have a lot of, not even a lot, but the Plum Streets that I have are mostly kind of Christmassy, with just a couple exceptions. So I said, whatever you want to send me that's like summery or patriotic or whatever. And she spoiled me. So I went through and I pulled my favorites, but you know, I did this like 3 times, and every time I've done it, and I only just got it a couple days ago, but every time I go through, it's like, well, actually I want to start at this one first. No, well, actually I want to start at this one first. So I'm going to go through, and maybe on my next video, I'll have a start on one of those Plum Street that she sent me. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, I'm going to check my notes real quick because I just want to make sure I've gone over everything so far. Okay, so I showed you the couple whips, including the New Start Harriet Goddard. I showed you my finishes. I showed you the FFOs. And now I guess we just get into haul and more Stitchy kindness because it's like a big pile of fabric. Some of it is a gift from Vashti and some of it I have purchased. Okay, and then we'll get into plans. Okay, probably a couple weeks ago, Jem and Vashti and I are in this group chat, and it's every day there's something. And a couple weeks ago, Jem was like, you guys better get on it because Stitch Me has ready to ship fabric. And I was like, okay, I don't know what this is, but I need to do it because Jem told me. So I went onto the website, and already like stuff was out of stock, but there were a couple pieces of 56 count left. And so I went ahead and grabbed them. I got not another sampler. This is a 1/4 yard, 56 count. And that looks pretty true. I like that. Yeah, this is not another sampler. And then I also got one more reproduction. Also 1/4 yard, also 56 count. And I'm asking myself, yeah, I think actually that's showing pretty true on the video. I love the modeling. I do love a good modeled fabric. So this is something that I think, you know, you don't want the modeling to overpower what really the sampler is, the stitching. I love creme brulee, but there's a reason that I think it works best with just red samplers. If you have so many colors going on and so many different kinds of motifs, I don't know that creme brulee is really the best option for that. But something like this with a lot of soft modeling, oh my gosh, that's so pretty. Okay, so I told Jem, because I texted her, I was like, okay, this is what they have left. And she was like, well, both of those colors are gorgeous. I was like, okay, I'll get them both. Like, yes, ma'am. And I'm very happy with those. And the price was reasonable and she was quick to ship. So I guess, well, what Jem tells me is that when the lady who runs Bestitch Me and does all the dyeing and shipping and whatever, I don't know, is it a one-woman show? I'm not really sure. But Jem tells me that when she's got stuff that's ready to ship, it ships quickly. But if you pre-order, custom order, or whatever you want to call it, you're waiting however long. You're waiting weeks, months, who knows? Okay. Couple other pieces that I snagged, a 56 count, were amazing. This is 56 count Dirty Teacup by Needle and Flax. I mean, I knew this existed because there is a Hands Across the Sea sampler that is stitched on 56 count Dirty Teacup, but I had only ever seen Needle and Flax in 46 at the highest. And so it was like, it's a unicorn. That doesn't really exist, but I got some. And it is gorgeous. I love that fabric. I love it. That's probably, you know, I haven't seen all of Rachel's fabrics in person, Needle and Flax, but of the few that I've seen, I think Dirty Teacup is my favorite. And then this is Lakeside Meadow Rue, also 56. And this is a nice big chunk. Yeah, so that's definitely gonna get some love. Okay, now onto the stuff that Vashti gifted me. Let me show you. Okay, this is 56 count Overcast by Cedar River. Just a nice basic neutral, really nice. And Jody's linen, I've stitched a couple things on it, and I think her dyeing process leaves the fabric feeling really nice. It's not overly tight, and it looks good. I like her colors. Okay, this is Valley Forge by Needle and Flax, 56 count. This is another nice neutral. I like this color. When all these showed up, I was like, man, Vashti, you spoiled me. I gotta get stitching just so I can use this fabric, just so I can touch it. And then another piece she sent me was Shrekie's Tan. This is a huge piece of 56. I have already cut into it for Harriet Goddard. You guys. There's more. There's more. So that I will be working on for a while. And I'm very thankful. I think, you know, Vashti, she's got a lot of stuff. She's got a lot of stash. And I think she was looking to find a new home for some of this stuff. And I'm very grateful. And I mentioned earlier, Just the Ticket. This is Just the Ticket by Tabby Cat. On previous videos, I know I have talked about this color and how I feel that it's changed over the years, because I got a piece of Tabby Cat Just the Ticket several years ago when I first started stitching samplers on linen. And it was very, it wasn't like Crayola crayon yellow, but it was more yellow than this. This I feel, and the newer pieces, the other newer pieces of Just the Ticket that I have are calmer, we'll say. Oh, I like that. Okay, that is my haul, Stitchy Kindness added to stash. One more thing that I wanted to talk about before I get to plans. That was gonna fall over. Okay. A couple weeks ago, it was right at the end of May. I was going up to visit my mom and I was flying through Detroit. So what I ended up doing was I arranged it so that I would have a really, really long layover in Detroit so that I could leave the airport and go to the Detroit Institute of Arts and see this exhibit as well as the rest of the museum, because it had probably been about 15 years since I had been there, and walk around, see all the stuff, and go back to the airport, and then fly, you know, finish my journey up to my mom's place. So painted with silk. I didn't realize that, because I posted a bunch of photos on Instagram, just in my stories. I didn't realize that when I said, bye DTW, hello DIA, everybody was like, why are you in Denver? Why are all these samplers in the Denver airport? I'm like, it's not the Denver airport. Oh well. So painted with silk, the art of early American embroidery. There were a lot of samplers, different types of embroidery. There were pieces that were done on silk that were not only embroidered but also painted. And it was a really interesting exhibit. It was like a little bit of information. Most of it I already knew. You know, you're like reading those big things that they put up on the wall, and it's like, yeah, I already kind of knew that. But the pieces, to get to see them in person, were really nice. Now this booklet doesn't have a photograph of every piece that was on display, but it does have many photos, and there is some information in here that was not part of the display. So anyway, unfortunately this exhibit has run its course. Yeah, it closes tomorrow, June 15th. It says right on the back, June 15th, 2025. But I don't know, if you're seeing this today, as I put this out, and you can go tomorrow if you're in the Detroit area, you can do that. But it was worth checking out. I snagged a couple extra of these and gave a couple to friends, so hopefully they'll find it interesting. Alrighty, so that is kind of what I've been working on over the last few weeks, and then let's talk about plans, I think. Let me go over my notes here, just want to make sure. Yeah, plans. Okay, so I mentioned at the beginning of this video that Ryan is in France, and he's kind of hopping around. Oops, we're shaking the camera here. Okay, so he's in France right now, and then he goes to Jakarta for Formula E, and then he goes back to Europe to go to Belgium for GT World Challenge Europe for the 24 Hours of Spa race in Spa-Francorchamps. And we had been looking at getting a ticket for me to join him in Belgium, but the tickets were like $3,000, and that was for just main cabin. So I told him, I said, you know, you're gonna be gone for 3 weeks, and that's longer than I would like to be separated, but $3,000 is just too much. And he was like, yeah, okay. So I told him though that I would keep looking, and if there was a sudden drop in price that I would just buy a ticket and come over. But he then the next day was like looking around. He was like, well, Audrey, do you want to go somewhere else? Because he was just going to be hanging around like in the Belgium area or something, or maybe stay in France, because he flies from Jakarta back to France and then would take a train to Brussels. And so he found that plane tickets to Prague were much less expensive than plane tickets to Brussels for some reason. I have no idea. So guess what, guys? I'm going to Prague next week. Yeah. My life is weird. Oh, another weird thing? Okay, so I don't know how many of you will appreciate this, but Ryan is working the race this weekend, the 24 Hours of Le Mans, for Radio Le Mans. Okay, if you know what that is, great. The 24 Hours of Le Mans is a huge deal. It is a massive deal in the sports car racing world. On the same weekend, there are support series races. So much shorter races run by different types of cars, different manufacturers. And a lot of times it's like gentleman drivers who are just like writing checks to be there. Well, guess who's like spending our inheritance? Ryan's dad raced in a couple of the support series races this weekend, and he did not crash. I didn't think he was gonna crash. Let me just be clear about that. I didn't think he was going to crash, but you know, when there are crazies around you, you don't know what's going to happen. But he did well. And in at least one of the races that he was in, Frankie Muniz was also racing. So weird. So Ryan told me about this. He was like, do you want another my life is weird sort of thing? And I said, yeah, what's going on? I told about Frankie Muniz. I said, if you run into him, you got to ask him how it was working with Cher. And he's like, I'm not going to do that. I said, oh, okay. Anyway, off on that tangent. Everybody my age will know who Frankie Muniz is. Okay, he's really not that big deal. So I needed to figure out a travel project for Prague because it's an international trip and I'm gonna have plenty of time on planes and I have a hard time sleeping anywhere really. So I needed something that was not on 56 and did not have a million colors. So I went through my stash. And also something that was in a smaller booklet form was preferable, and I settled on Rose Ada Featherstone. This chart is weird. It's so weird. I'm getting pretty slap happy, guys. Hold on, let me have a drink. All right, I had my drink. Oh, this is an exclusive chart. You can get it through Hobby House. I ordered this because I was like, oh, well, it's exclusive. And what if like in 10 years I want to have it and they no longer have it for sale? I gotta have it now. It's so weird. Look at it. With the Pepto angels and the lime green trees and stuff. But you know what? I think it's gonna be a great travel project because it only has 12 colors. And there are 13 spools in here because you need 2 spools and one of the greens. And look at the colors. The colors are actually really gorgeous. Look at this. I love that. It's just so weird. And the stitch count is only 221 by 206. And I actually had the called for fabric, which is 46 or whatever count you want. But the called for color is marbled khaki by XJU Design. And I had this because ages ago I stitched Ruth Gibb on it, which is now framed and hanging at my mother's house, and so I guess you guys will never see it. But I did show it on a previous video. I'm sure I did. I love this fabric. It's so cool. Like I had, continued to you go through your stash and it's like, oh, that fabric is so pretty. What am I going to put on it? There are a couple other pieces in XJU Design's Etsy shop right now that are like that. Like, I just want them. I don't know what to put on them. One is Ash Rose and one is Ash. The Ash is like a grayish blue with brown modeling, and the Ash Rose is a baby pink, like a dusty baby pink with brown modeling. I love them both. I love them both. And it's like, I need that. I don't, but I want them. Okay, so this is 46 count marbled khaki. And as I said, for a travel project, I don't want 56 count. I enjoy stitching on 56 count and I can do it when I've got good lighting, but that's not always guaranteed in airports and on planes and hotel rooms and stuff like that. So I wanted something that was 46 and, as I say, didn't have a ton of colors. And it's just a bonus that this booklet is a nice small size. I wish I had a smaller, I've got all these great project bags, but they're all rather large. And I want something that's that big for these charts, but that's okay. So that is, that's my travel project. That's my plan. We'll see how much I get done on that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start the corner, figure out my margin and start the corner before I even go to the airport. And that way I won't have to, figure out that math and all that stuff away from home. So I'll put in a couple stitches at home and then I can continue when I'm gone and on the road. But yeah, I was on the phone with Jordan, the tattooed stitcher. I was on the phone with her just the other day, And I showed her, we were kind of talking about this because she was like, oh, I don't like angels. I was like, I don't usually gravitate toward angels either, but you know, it's on there. We're gonna stitch them. I think it's, you know, we can't all be Elizabeth Stevenson, right? I think Rose Ada was a weird one. She's gonna be just like, I'm gonna put in lime green trees and weird birds. There's a unicorn on it. There's that. I don't know, you guys. We'll see how it turns out. It's gonna be the only thing I bring with me. So I gotta work on it or I won't be able to stitch. I don't know that there are any cross stitch shops in Prague, and we're not really, you know, going to shop. We're meeting in Prague so we can actually see each other, Ryan and I. And we've got a couple things on our list that we'd like to go see. But I think it's just gonna basically be walking around, seeing what kind of funky food we can get and looking at old stuff. It's usually what we like to do. Walk around, look at old buildings, go to museums, eat food. That's what we do. So that's the plan. Oh, if you have any questions or comments, just leave them below. I don't know how this video is gonna turn out. Feeling kind of silly right now. But I appreciate all your kind comments and all your questions and everything. You know, I try to keep up with what you guys have been sending my way. And I just want you to know that I appreciate it. If you are interested in that Stitch With Me Algerian eyelets video, it is on my channel. It's the last video I did. And I also did a room tour of this place, my Floss Palace, my stitching room. I put that up last month as well. Yeah, and I've got a couple requests for other Stitch With Me videos. Like a couple of people have asked about the rice stitch and four-sided stitch and something else I already forgot. So I will get to those eventually, but again, I'm not calling them tutorials per se. I'm not gonna say this is how you should do it. I'm just gonna say this is how I do it, and if you would like to copy me, that's fine. And if not, that's okay. That's okay. We've all got our own way of doing things, and that's good, as long as you like the end product. Okay, I'm just kind of looking around to see, did I miss anything? Oh, well, I was going to talk more about Jordan because Jordan and I have like a little get together planned, and I'm so excited. I'm so excited. So we were on the phone the other day, like over a month ago or something. She had maybe even a couple months ago, she had asked me what my plans were for the rest of the year. And I was like, well, I'm just going to the one retreat and it's in England and I have nothing planned for next year. And because she was kind of like, well, it'd be nice if we could meet at a retreat. And I said, well, why don't you figure out what you're doing next year. And if one of those sounds good, I'll just join in with you. And that was kind of what we were looking at doing. But then as we were talking on the phone the other day, we were kind of talking about, pros and cons of retreats, mostly the price, right? Retreats are expensive. They just are. And I know a lot of them include food and, you got to pay to rent that big hall or conference room or wherever they're going to be held or whatever. I understand that there are inherent costs with hosting these things. I get it. But I told her, I said, if the point is to get together and we just really want to shop and hang out and stuff, then why don't we just meet somewhere? And then that way you're not fighting a bunch of other retreat goers for products at the store or whatever. And so we were kind of talking about different shops that we would like to visit. And I think we came up with a pretty good plan. So I'm excited about that. So, and she was laughing because she was like, oh, I told my husband that I was actually done planning stuff for the year. Oops. I was like, you can blame me. You can blame me. It's okay. And I told her, I said, well, Ryan is in a completely different time zone right now. So I'm going to have to check in with him. And I did end up texting him and getting confirmation that, the weekend that we picked is fine. And I got to talk to him on the phone yesterday, and I said something about husband approval. He's like, you don't need husband approval. I was like, I know, but I just need to make sure that we're not actually doing anything that weekend because you never know what's going to come up. So anyway, I just want to tell you that, Jordan, I'm excited. I'm excited to go just shopping and hang out and stuff. So, all right. Okay, I think that's all I've got going on. I'll talk to you guys again in about a month. Maybe a little bit sooner. It might be sooner. We'll see. And again, you can leave any questions or comments below, and you can find me on Instagram at StitchStitchBead. Happy stitching, guys. Bye.